welcome to another episode of Impactors Out Loud with me, Tracy V. Allen. And today I have with me Toni Moore, Esquire. She's going to talk to us about things legally bound, right, today. So let me tell you a little bit about Toni, and then we're going to get started. So Toni Moore, Esquire is the founder of a Moore legal firm and holds a degree from the University of Pennsylvania and Temple Law School, including a master's degree in taxation. She focuses on business law, intellectual property, business succession, that's a good thing, and estate protection. Over the course of her career, she has held several financial security licenses and certifications, positioning her as a leading expert in asset protection and legacy planning. After starting her own practice, Moore Legal Services, she later transitioned to a boutique law firm, Moore Legal Firm, dedicated to safeguarding the assets and legacies of entrepreneurs worldwide. Notably, Toni has presented high profile clients such as Darren P. Henderson, Kim Sledge, Tiffany Alice, and Evelyn Braxton, helping them to navigate the complexities of business regulation, financial security, and legal and wealth building. She is passionate about empowering her clients to build and protect legacy wealth with strategic, legal, and financial guidance. All right, welcome, Toni.
Thank you for having me.
And that is an impressive resume. So today we're going to ask you, the first question I always ask is, what is your cause story? How did you become, or why did you choose to become a lawyer? Not only just a lawyer, but a lawyer who deals with legacy building and asset protection.
Well, I mean, for the most part, I just remind people I came from poor. Okay. Like poor background, poor financial solutions. My mom was pretty much in a destitute situation. We lived in sometimes shelters. We lived in other people's basements. Sometimes we just, I had to live in foster care because, there was more month than money. And I just always thought that there was another way, right? Not only that, but in the system, when you're poor, you have people telling you what to do, or they're ignoring you, or they're diminishing you. So when I was growing up, I was like, I'm never going to be this poor ever. I'm never going to be on welfare, and I thought that maybe if I hooked up with D-boys, or if I hooked up with athletes, someone to rescue me from the financial constraints of poverty, but that didn't really happen. Instead, I got a chance to go to the Milton Hershey School, where it's funded by a trust fund. And it's helped so many people, including myself and some of my family members, out of urban, just living in poverty. And at the university, then at the Milton Hershey School, I went over to the University of Penn. And that's where I learned about legacy. And I met people who actually had, who were children of people who wanted them to succeed. They were expected to take ownership of the company, or expected to be like, trailblazers in whatever field the other parents were in, and some of them, they knew their position. And a lot of them, they already had a blueprint. They had a plan. And I was just like, wow, I've never seen anything like that. But what I did realize is that even in impoverished neighborhoods, we have a legacy too. Most people expect us to replace our parents. My mom actually thought I was going to replace her with several fathers and living in subsidized housing. And then even some of my family members, when I literally went from the projects to the University of Penn, they didn't think, they were, how they say there's going to be look to the left, look to the right. One of you guys aren't going to make it, generational curse with regards to and when you're first generation. And I just was like, I had a dream of being a lawyer. I felt like lawyers were respected. I felt like I learned that lawyers can have different careers, they're not just stuck in one area. Like certain things, you're just stuck in one area. You're always doing, if you're a throat doctor, you're always going to be a throat doctor. A podiatrist, you're always going to be a podiatrist. But a lawyer, it just seemed like there was so much more. And so I have always been on a wealth creation journey. Like, how do girls like me end up on the other side of poverty, even if we don't have a sugar daddy? Okay. So I've always been curious, and I've always liked the legal. So when I started out of law school, I started at a litigation firm, didn't like it. Then I ended up in family law, didn't like it. Then I ended up in bankruptcy court, didn't like it. Oh, wow. And then I ended up at Primerica Financial Services, and it opened up a whole new area with regards to insurance and wealth and, all of the stuff that they never talk about in the projects or in foster care or with social workers. So I was just like, what is this? What's compounded interest? Rule of 72. So I tried to go from Primerica to Merrill Lynch. While I was still working at a law firm, and they were like, you have to give up your practice. So I didn't want to give up my practice. I stumbled into entrepreneurship as a side hustling diva. And I pretty much was like, oh my God, I can make extra money. So I did it as a professor, an adjunct professor, while I was still doing family court and still doing the litigation and until one day, this one guy asked me to teach the class that I was teaching already at the undergraduate. Actually, it was at the graduate by then. And he taped and recorded me. Then he sold my training.
Oh, really?
Without even having a conversation with me.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of woke me up to the fact that, oh my God, the knowledge that I have can be currency. So once I learned how to package my brilliance and position myself in the marketplace, now I'm telling more people, hey, the best way to get from poverty to prosperity, or the best way to build your own financial fortress, is not necessarily always what Primerica taught us with regards to mutual funds and getting out of debt and term life insurance, but actually turning your intellectual property into an asset that you leverage as an investment. So ever since then, it's been like over 7 years now, but that was my journey from impoverished to like, guess what? There is intellectual property that I can bankroll and you can bankroll too.
Okay. So when it comes to intellectual, let's start with intellectual property. That can be empowering and crippling at the same time. And I don't know if you would agree. So a lot of times we meet people as consultants, because I'm a business consultant. So a lot of times I meet people and they want to do something. They want to start a business. They want to put out a course. They want to do something. But someone told them about intellectual property. Someone told them about trademarking. And they refuse to even get started on the process because they have not trademarked whatever it is. Do you think that? I think it's crippling because it can keep you stuck, right? I think that you need to move forward and do the trademarking at the same time, because it's that easy. And tell me if I'm wrong. It's not that easy for somebody to just grab your stuff. I mean, we can talk about what's happening right now in pop culture, because I saw you talked about it with jewels and all of that stuff. It's not that simple for someone to just grab your trademark if you are putting your things out in the correct form to begin with. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, it really depends, because it is very easy. Someone can pre-register, like what they did with Jules LeBron. They pre-registered, and now Jules LeBron would have to establish that she had a priority claim before the initial user. So now you're in litigation, right? And there's so many different schools of thought with regards to when do you file federal trademark protection for the brand that you're using. Okay. And excuse me, if you have joint venture partners, or you're pitching, or you're some people are trying to leverage into like the TV realm, then ideas are not protected.
Right.
So you always have to understand and appreciate that if you are going to wait And when people wait and they stall, I always just be like, you allow excuses to be above and beyond reasons, or you're not really truly understanding the power of a registered brand. Power of a registered brand means that if someone actually tries to steal it or use it, then you can not only cease and desist, but you can have a takedown notice. Right. You can go to their web hosting. You can actually collect their revenue. You know what I mean? A whole bunch. You can even have a temporary restraining order, even in their home state, or even take away their ability to market and advertise on Amazon or on social media. You can't do that if you just have a common law brand. Now, in so many people, they have business names that are so brandable and trademarkable, and it's nice, it's catchy, they're making money. I even see some people, they have like a platform on YouTube, have thousands of subscribers. This one girl has over 1 million subscribers, and her brand is not protected. Now, most people are like, oh, I don't need to. No one will steal it. Yeah, they will. And then you would be behind the 8 ball trying to claim or take ownership. But as an attorney who was able to take away someone's alleged common law rights, when one of my clients had filed her trademark application, the person tried to cease and desist on my client. And I was like, yeah, good luck with that. And by law, it's not because you used it first. That's what most people don't understand. Right. It's not. You got to establish that not only did you use it, but you marketed it, you advertised it, and you are so awesome and amazing with regards to marketing and advertising that when people hear the brand, they think of you.
Right.
And if you can't establish that, then guess what? You were just an initial user and you have a priority claim in that area, but the federally protected trademark certified owner will be able to box you in, because now they have the registration. Yeah. So I always say the R is for respect, it's for revenue, it restricts other people, and you can't replicate without some sort of agreement that allows other people to license or utilize it or to do or leverage it. Without an agreement, it becomes problematic.
Yes, definitely. I agree with what you said. I'm just talking, I understand with the business names that are really trademarkable, but I'm talking about people who, I guess what I was coming from was people who don't have a lot of money to begin with. They're just trying to make a few dollars. Nothing about the business name is really catchy, or just memorable. I'm just, for those people, those are the ones who I really am talking about. Like if you come up with like a fire name that's just so unusual, and you know in your heart that once you put it out, definitely you should protect everything you got. Yes. But for the smaller people who are just trying to make some side hustle money, I just think that they get so caught up on the trademark instead of doing things simultaneously, right? Because you don't have the time to wait and hold back not to make money because you need to trademark something. That's where I was coming from with that. But yes, I do agree. A lot of times we play around with our intellectual property, and then you end up having to fight for it. And if you don't have the finances to fight for it, you have to walk away from it. And you build all of this around it, because to build a brand is not easy. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Building a brand is not just about your logo, your name, and some colors and some fonts. Right. It's about, the memory, like you said, that people have, the association that people have with the brand, and a certain feeling that brand brings to them, a certain person or a product or a service that the brand has. So when you're building that type of brand, you definitely need to make sure you lock it down, right? Whatever it costs, you need to lock it down.
Yes, especially even I get a chance to work with people who are also celebrities and athletes. And like you said, when you create something that you get known for, and when there's a sponsorship or someone's giving you a book deal or a music deal or something, they already see the potential. Now, whether or not even people who are startups see their own potential, we both, off air talked about how we went through coaching, and sometimes you got to break through. I always say in my BYOB program, break through your own BS, but BS on that sort is like your broke story.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Or that but story. But no one likes me, but no one sees me, but nobody understands me, but nobody supports me. When you break through that but story and you be like, it's not even about them. It's
Mhm.
about the potential within yourself. Because I see like athletes, there was this one athlete, he had a trademark. Literally, he had traced his hand. That was his logo. But guess what? A bigger brand took ownership of it because they sponsored it, and they were like, yeah, that was part of the sponsorship agreement. And then with regards to like pictures, and sometimes your portrait can be part of your logo, a silhouette, and that's what they get known and seen and heard and gets marketed. You got to take ownership of that. Right now I'm dealing with something, someone passed away, it was unfortunate, they were at the celebrity status, and guess
Mhm.
what, their alleged friends and alleged partners, they're
Mhm.
actually trying to monetize
Wow.
off of a brand that he didn't protect, because most people don't think anything of it, or they just skip the legal side of it. So
Mhm.
now we have to reverse engineer, and the family has to pay more money to
Mhm.
defend, which would have been cheaper to register. And there's a
Right.
lot of attorneys, including myself. We have our own do it yourself trademark training classes. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Take the class. You know what I mean? Walk through the process, and then if you get stuck at the office exam, then that's maybe when you hire an attorney. But
Mhm.
one of my clients, when she started out, she didn't have the money. So she borrowed from her friends. When I started my business, I didn't have the money. So I was the side hustling diva. And guess what I did? I
Mhm.
actually borrowed from myself with my 401k.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, you talked about the client that you have that passed away, and now we're trying to reverse engineering. So
Mhm,
one of the things that you are very passionate about is legacy building, and
mhm,
that is where we definitely meet. Right, I am super passionate about legacy building, especially legacy building in the Black community. Right,
mhm.
because a lot of us are leaving this earth and we're just leaving absolute chaos behind, and it really does not have to be that way. And you mentioned earlier that you worked with Primerica. So did I. I was a licensed insurance agent with Primerica before. So we do intersect on that part too. So let's talk about life insurance, legacy building, and just kind of getting your stuff together as
Mhm.
not just an entrepreneur, but as an individual person and a person with family members that you're trying to leave a legacy or build a legacy for.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, there was this book that irritated the mess out of me.
Hmm.
Okay. Probably because I have the Primerica background. And what I don't talk about is I also have the compliance background with the Department of Labor on the employee benefit side. And there's a lot of people who don't really appreciate what's given, even their retirement plan, right? So I took this training class. A friend of mine who's an insurance person asked me to come, and it was becoming your own banker. Okay. But they only talked about, you guessed it, universal life insurance. And even when we talk about the Vanderbilts and what was his name?
Rockefeller.
Rockefellers, okay? They're really talking about life insurance policies. And
Mhm.
there's a time and a place for life insurance policies, definitely, especially when you are building generational wealth, right? I'm a big proponent of keep the end in mind. Like I came from brokey broke. I was bitter, I was broken. And then when I realized that people literally bankrolled their brilliance and packaged that into an entrepreneurial business,
Mhm.
I have been glued, fixed in. Like if they can do it, Lord, I'm doing it too.
Right.
Okay. So when I'm creating these things,
Mhm.
I know that insurance is awesome, that I need it. That's a great foundation
Mhm.
because I know that I made some promises to my children. And if something should happen to me, I have insurance, other people's money to take care of it. Then I have some siblings who passed away, and they have children. And I really, if I can, I want to vanquish poverty from our family. So
Mhm.
even if my mama didn't give me anything, okay, but their mamas, even if they didn't, I still want a piece of her to give them something. Because what I've learned is that when someone breaks the curse of poverty,
Mhm.
then they can never revert back. So if I'm going to be the rich auntie in my family, then I had to get insurance,
Mhm.
right? Not
Right.
only that, but have my business in order with having a business, and then also having, I like to call it like a smart legacy plan in place, that I'm using all of the savvy steps so I can create that savvy legacy plan in place for the family. Because most people don't work on themselves. They don't go to coaching. They literally inherit what was spoon fed to them, or what the world has cultivated us to think small, to think that money don't grow on trees, to think that entrepreneur is hard, to think that the legal things can be skipped. But all the wealthy people and politicians, they know that they need the legal side to be on their side, right? So when you stop thinking small, and I always say, don't play small, okay? Boss up. Because when you start believing and owning your power within you, you're like, how do I set this up so that I can live wealthy, so I can lead wealthy, and so I can leave wealthy? Because most people want to do things, oh, I want to do this when I die. No, legacy is about your lifetime and your leadership. And if you don't have the money, but we don't know the day and the hour, then at least get other people's money. Insurance policy. Get that. I think we were taught to, buy term and invest the difference. But I do know that some people, and I was talking to someone the other day, I do know that some people do believe in universal life insurance.
Yeah.
And they leverage it. But I'm like, but if you're going to do it, make sure that your business owns it. That way, all of your investments can be tax deductible, and it could be an employee benefit for yourself, and can be utilized. I was like, so if you're going to play in that lane, I want you to be expansive. Like, just don't get it because you think that that's an easy check. Because if you die and you still owe something from that savings portion, it's going to get deducted out.
Exactly. And I wish that people would tell the entire truth about universal life, instead of making it seem like a get rich quick scheme. And that's what I don't like. And to me, it's being marketed directly to the people who it should not be marketed to.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
and that's that in that BYOB. Well, my course is BYOB, but his was become your own banker. And I'm like, yeah, but the illustration is on $1 million. Can you please talk to my people and tell them what that premium looks like? Because I know what the premium looks like on 500,000. So if I had to put the $1 million and then had a savings portion with a cash value portion, it would have been so much more. So when we talked about it, really, the premium was like $1,400 a month.
And who can afford that?
Right. Now we're going to
afford their rent. Okay.
Right.
$1,400 is a lot of money. We're in a term life insurance for 30 years. You're probably paying $100 if you get it early on.
If you get it early on, yes.
So like my daughter, her 18th birthday gift to herself was life insurance.
Okay.
Because I'm not playing that games, right? One time, never again. Right? She turned 18. I got all of her documents together. Power of attorney, medical, what is it called?
Healthcare directive.
Yeah, all of that stuff. Because a lot of people, I think, don't realize that when your children turn 18, they don't belong to you anymore.
No.
You have yes, they're your children, but you have no legal rights over them. You need to have documents in place. And all of this is part of legacy building, because I've seen where, people their children have been carted off in the hospital to become organ donors. And the parents are like, well, I didn't say it. That's my child. But no, it's not your child anymore. Right? Because you don't have any legal rights over that child. You need to make sure that when your children turn 18, before you send them off to college, that there's certain documents that are signed and notarized so that you can manage certain things in your child's life. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
And a lot of people still wait for school or the government to teach financial literacy. I think one of the things, we are destroyed by the lack of knowledge. So one of the things I did like about Primerica was that, they were trying to have a bigger funnel so that people can be part of the team, but the education is still like something that shifted my whole trajectory with regards to it. Because I'm like, wait. No one ever said this. Even when I was at the University of Penn, the people who knew, they knew. But they weren't trying to bring in a new soiree of people to know with regards to, you know what I mean, cash valuations and business and investments and, you know what I mean, and insurance, because I'm going to keep it real. There is a time and a place for everything. I'm on the other side of 50 and I had to renew because I already had a 20-year policy and they're like, okay, you got 10 more years. And I'm like, 10 more years? I'm only going to be early 60. Let me get another 20 just in case, because I want to utilize other people's money, but I also want to utilize my own smart legacy plan so that, you know what, the promises I made to my children and the promises I made to my dead mother, you know, was that we're going to shift this conversation. We're going to shift the financial story, because what I realized is that people only need to have one person in the family.
Yes.
One person.
I agree with when you're talking about it has taught you so much and you're passing that along for your legacy. In my case, that person was my mom. Right? Well, I shouldn't even say that. It started with my grandmother, because my grandmother was a bank manager. Right? So it started there, it went to my mom and then down to us. And my mom was an insurance agent and a realtor. So I got a lot of that knowledge really early on as to how money works, what I should be doing. I owned my own house by the time I was 24.
See, that's a blessing.
Right? She was
literally,
like, one day she picked me up and she was like, come, I have something to show you. And I was like, okay. And then we pull up to the subdivision and she was like, which property do you want? Right? And I was like, say what now? She was like, you're going to be building a house. Which one do you want? And I was like, wait a minute, what? I didn't tell you I was ready to build a house. I'm 24. My son is 2 years old. And she goes, and that's why you need a house, right? Because you have to start thinking about your son's legacy. And so I was like, okay, let me take that one on the hill, right? And she goes, well, you have enough money in your account because she had access to all of my stuff. She was like, you have enough money in your account to buy that one outright, but I also think you should buy the one behind you. Right? So I owned the piece of land that I built my house on and the piece behind me. I went ahead and got an FHA loan and I built my house from scratch at 24.
See, that's a blessing, you know? And here's the thing is that because your grandmom and then she empowered your mom and she empowered you, and then you were like, and my children and my children's children, you know, as a person who's kingdom, I'm just like, you know, you're supposed to be at least 3 levels deep. Most of us are just in scarcity mode. My mom was in survival mode. In the survival mode, we stayed in scarcity. And when I realized that, you know what, there's a lot of people, I said this in my BYOB conversations. Literally, I focus a lot on the breakthrough your own backstory and things of that nature, because it happened. You lived through it. Trauma, helplessness, damsel in distress for so many people. All of the isms and schisms just happened. But what I realized when I was at least at college at the University of Penn, it was that the Erikson 7 stages of development, it's like if no one develops us, we'll get stuck in that level. Yes. So even if someone doesn't develop you, you have to appreciate that you are meant to be whole and you're meant to be happy and you are meant to change the trajectory of your legacy. For me, I'm fixated on my financial legacy only because, one, money answers a lot of things.
It does.
It answers a lot of things. Even I've learned that money, like wisdom, is a defense. If I have enough money, and if I don't know marketing, then I can hire someone. If I get stuck in a place where I need some litigation support, legal support, I can retain a lawyer. If I'm sick, I was having an ailment that kept coming up. I didn't know. But guess what? I was able to make a sizable deposit so we can do some investigation on what is going on. And all these doctors later, I found someone. But if I was still in that broke mentality or even that broke state of affairs, then guess what? I would probably still be trying to be stuck on whatever the medical doctor said at the poor people's hospital. because there's a lot of times that we get stuck because we don't know, or we're so in survivor mode. That's for me why building that financial fortress, I believe, is through entrepreneurship, because a lot of us have not come from wealth. A lot of us have been, we inherited poverty and the broke stories and the trauma and the helplessness and the damsel in distress, and no one who shifted that financial story. So that's why I'm like, but when you step out on faith, even with nothing, like I self-funded myself, 401k loan after 401k loan, credit card after credit card, all these years later, now they saying, oh girl, you can get some business credit. That wasn't that 15 years ago. They wasn't telling us about, and all of this stuff. It was there. They just didn't tell our people.
Right. But it brings me back to a few things that you said. And the credit card thing makes me laugh, because I was telling someone that the only reason I went ahead and fixed my credit is because I needed mileage points. I wanted a credit card that I could gain. Every time I spent money, I gained mileage, right? And I said, now I have 2 credit cards that do that, so I'm good, right? So, but you talked about, and I asked about this because there's this Discord going on currently on TikTok, and it kind of reminds me a little bit about your story. When you talked about growing up in poverty and just abject poverty, right? And you got to go to the Hershey School. And do you think that if you had never gone there, that you would have been the person you are today still? Or do you think being in that setting is what catapulted you into who you are today?
No, I truly believe, because my mama had 8 girls, and I'm the only one who ended up standing on financial ground. Now, are they destitute? No, but can they flip their IP into like a $50,000 brand? No. And for me, it was going to the Milton Hershey School, and I'll never forget, I actually got kicked out of 2 different student homes.
Wow.
Because what people didn't tell folks, and I graduated in 1990, so I'm an old head, OG, okay, was that my trauma story of living in foster care and living in all of the horrible things that could happen to a girl with no daddy. I'm gonna just leave it like that. Where the mom has lack of education and things happen. I had a lot of spiritual wounds. And when I learned my voice, I was angry. So when people would tell me stuff, I would curse them out. And it did not work on the first student home. And it wasn't nasty cursing them out. They were just like, who do you think you are? You know what I mean? Off with her head, get rid of her, but I was also, what's it called? Adultified. And I was parentified. Like I had younger siblings, and my mom, when she wasn't absentee, I became the protector. So how dare anyone try to put me in a child's place when my mama wouldn't even do that, Right. So 2 student homes didn't work. And I almost got kicked out of another student home, but I was able to advocate for myself and ask the director to place me in a student home with someone who looked like me, who wasn't afraid of a 6 foot tall woman who may end up with some issues. And I ended up with a student home house parent that looked like us. And one time she helped me. Nobody ever did this for me before, was to understand and appreciate that my mom was my trigger.
Okay.
And she could have turned me in, as my other 2 house parents did, when I got so triggered. And she said, give yourself a chance. Just give yourself a chance. And I was like, if I don't give myself a chance, I'm going to get kicked out of Milton Hershey School. And the other side of Milton Hershey School, if we didn't have food, my mom would be like, well, you're an older sister, so you only eat 1 meal.
Oh, wow.
Or if she decided that she didn't want to be a mom, we'd have to figure out, okay, who's going to stay home and how are we going to keep the social workers from being in our business until we came. You know what I mean? And sometimes I had 2 sisters sleeping with me. It's like 8 of us living in a 3-bedroom house, and my mom took one of the bedrooms.
Right.
So But I was so in my feelings and in my ego that I never even thought of anything that was possible.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking my possibilities is with a D boy, because
Mm-hmm.
my mama had a man and she had husbands and she had two fathers, and I was a child from one of the fathers, you know? So I was just like, that was my life story. And we tend to become what we see.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for the Milton Hershey School, even, Lord, I thank you. I can't say this without thanking God, because they were during career day. That's when I learned about lawyers. But prior to that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I can be a wife or a girlfriend of an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, where are you going to school? I was like, well, I'm going to be a hairdresser, because that's all I saw that was successful in my neighborhood. So
Mm-hmm.
I had two teachers, and they were like, they advocated for me to at least apply to school. They were like, Toni, you're smart. You're on distinguished honor roll. You know what I mean? You are so smart. Can you at least try? And I'm like, my mom has no money. So
Mm-hmm.
there was nobody that had changed that financial story for us.
Right.
So, but for Milton Hershey School, I would have never found out about University of Penn. I just
Okay.
wanted to go to Philly. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that going to an Ivy League school would change things. Even when I almost got kicked out, I was already on academic probation, and I
Mm-hmm.
messed up because my mindset, because I kept traumatizing myself on all of the bad stuff that we don't necessarily talk about, but it traumatized me so much that I
Mm-hmm.
stayed in a stuck place
Right.
until I realized that, Tone, you're away from it, but you're not healed from it.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I can think about those things that I used to be, but when I realize that you always get what we focus on, and right now I just want to be the rich auntie in my family. Right
Mm-hmm.
now I want to change the financial story. Right now I have my sister's kids that they need. I can't be their mom, but I don't want them to get in a stuck place where they think that they have to be impoverished.
Mm-hmm.
Someone got to change the story in my mom's legacy. And I've decided, I felt in my spirit that that person is me. Yeah.
Okay. And so you've mentioned the rich auntie. I like to call myself the rich auntie too. Uh, before we wrap it up, being a rich auntie, what does that look like for other people who just want to be the rich auntie or the rich mama, whatever they want to be? But the person who wants to leave a legacy, if
Mhm.
you had to tell them today to set up 3 or 4 things legally to
Mhm.
get themselves together or with life insurance, whatever it is, what are those things that you would tell them they need to get to be on that path to setting up a legacy for their family?
Absolutely. Because I have some clients who was rich aunties, okay, like rich. And so what I do know, and I have also created my own rich auntie blueprint, was, okay, you need a business.
Mhm.
You need something other than your 401k and something other than your paycheck, because you need to live above and beyond so you can invest in what's next.
Mhm.
So, side hustle or main hustle, you need a business, right? Not only that, but I always believe that you need to leverage other people's money. So whether that is an insurance policy, I'm a big proponent of having insurance. And because now you have a business, you have an EIN number, you can take advantage of business credit. Okay. So there's different ways that you can have that business. The business, now that's a vessel. You're now having insurance policies, even if it's a universal life insurance. And regardless of what other people say, there's ways of leveraging it for your good.
Mhm.
Not only that, but having an insurance policy just in case, as you're building up your business, building up your brand, you have that insurance policy. I'm even a big proponent of having a retirement plan. Because one, when you start making money, like you may be nickel and diamond right now, but when you're either social enterprising, nonprofit maker, having a LLC, some kind of way, you're still fixated on generational wealth building. So you got to have some money ideas and goals. And you got to think, how long you going to hustle? We're not hustling forever. So
Right.
having a retirement plan, one, when you leave your company, your job, you can always transfer it, roll it over into a retirement plan. And if you have a solo 401k, you can borrow from it.
Mhm.
See, a lot of us take the money out and we get hit with interest and penalties.
Yes.
But when you understand and appreciate, oh, wait a minute, I already have my solo 401k. And now I'm the business owner that's sponsoring my own 401k. Not only that, but I really, really tell people I always say trademark it first, but it's really setting the foundations in place as to what is your bankable assets. When you appreciate that your intellectual property, that is IP. It's inherent way of making profiting from your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, right? So when you appreciate, oh, wait, my brand can be leveraged. I have clients, they have a for-profit and a nonprofit. They have leveraged their brand and they get sponsorship. Okay. Not only that, but their name protected with the sponsorship so that nobody else can duplicate or rob. But I have very smart people who create courses, right? And I was telling a friend of mine, because she has an opportunity to build out a course for a university and she is an employee. I'm like, girl, don't do that. Because if you do that, the school's going to own it.
You are being paid.
If you're teaching them, I don't care if you're a side hustling diva, if you're teaching them, you teach from the rubric that they gave you.
Exactly.
Now, if you want to do something different, then you leverage your IP into something else, and you make sure that it does not conflict, or whatever you create as an employee is now owned by the employer. And most people need to understand that. Okay. So I'm like, if you know something, if people are always asking you how, then that is your inherent possibilities of building generational wealth. Because I always say you can't build generational wealth until you first generate income.
Very true. Very, very, very true.
And then always have a succession plan. Now, I know on Tickety Talk, they're like, oh, have a trust. Yeah, I'd love it if you have a trust. But if you have under $300,000 and you don't have minor children and you don't have a special needs person, you probably just need a will and testament to direct and dictate what happens if something should happen to you. But when you have minors, or you like me, and I do have grown children and grown nieces and nephews, but I don't necessarily trust them with my coin. So I had to set up a trust to dictate this is how you get in auntie's money.
Right.
So having those in place, having a business, having insurance policies, using other people's, profits, be down with OPP, with business credit, you know what I mean? But more importantly, appreciating that your knowledge is a bankable asset. Okay. One of my clients couldn't stand this one guy. I'm not going to say his name, but he's in the music industry. And he ended up partnering with Hypnosis Records. Hypnosis Records, they actually pretty much started buying out all of the number one songs, and they turned those into something that they can invest in. They built an investment company off of number one hits. And when they did that, it shifted how I think of intellectual property. The guy even said, is Miles Rogers, he even said, every song is a business. Imagine if you treated your intellectual property, your book, your program, your bankable name, your trademark as a property, as an asset that can be invested or leveraged or used as, different ways, even for a JV partnership, as collateral, something that can be licensed. When you start appreciating that we may not have come from wealth, but there's something inherent that we know that we can bankroll.
Okay, awesome. And I see that you have a new book out.
It's coming. It's for my birthday. My birthday is November 20th. Okay. So that's when we're going to do the trademark it first. But I'm also writing something else, like Secrets to Becoming Your Own Boss. But I'm playing with the BYOB. So it's going to be called Secrets to BYOB. Because remember that B, first you got to break through your own broke story. You know what I mean? And then build your own business, then build your own, bankroll your own brilliance, and like 5 different levels to becoming your own boss. Okay.
So where can they find these books, either to pre-order or currently order these books?
If you go to the Legal Diva, that's DEEVA, because that's divine embodiment. But if you go to the legaldiva.com, then you can see one of the things that I just released with a group of tax preparers and CPAs was the Black Woman's Business Bible. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. And it's got check sheets and, which is on hard copy. So you'd get it, but it's a great investment, especially with regards to knowing what you need to know about the facts, the foundations, and the figures.
Awesome. And our last question, what makes you an impactor?
One of the things that makes me an impactor, I do believe, is because with impact, there's influence. There's somebody who has been influenced, and now you want to create an impact. And you understand that at the end of the day, I am someone who's shown time and time again that if we came from the bottom, we don't have to stay there. I'm a walking, talking epistle of the possibilities that we can do, regardless of what happened, regardless of where we came from, regardless if we didn't know who our real daddy was until 39, but maybe that was just me. But regardless of anything that traumatized us or made us feel helpless, we can harness our power. So when we create impact, it's an inside job first. And then we can be impactful in what we say, what we do, how we manifest, how we speak, how we show up, so that we can influence other people to be an impactor within themselves, their life, their legacy, and their community.
Awesome. Thank you. Toni, thank you so much for being here with us today, sharing your story, talking about succession planning, legacy building, and of course, IP, right? Intellectual property, making sure that you protect your assets, because that's the big thing. Every which way, whether you're an entrepreneur or just a regular civilian, making sure that you protect your assets and you're leaving a legacy for those that you will be leaving behind, because we all have to exit stage left at some point in time. May sound a little bit morbid, but that's just what life is. All right. Thank you again so much for being here. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I know that my audience will as well. All right. Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye.